Yo, so King of the Monsters was awesome. It was an amazing Godzilla movie. A lot of people hate it for some reason. I don't know why. I just assume they're all a bunch of uncle-kissing weirdos. But of the three new kaiju, Scylla, Behemoth, and Methuselah, in my opinion at least, Behemoth was the best. Scylla was cool, but it's like mostly an underwater kraken-type creature. On land, it's not that special. Methuselah's like a giant mountain. I don't know. We don't know much about it. It might be insane. But Behemoth, dude, it's like a mammoth monster. Today, gojicenter made a Behemoth video, and I'm freaking excited because he is my favorite new kaiju out of the three by far. So subscribe to gojicenter. They're almost at 1 million, dude. Yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and let's go check this out. The return of TITANUS Behemoth to the Monsterverse.
Will Rodan, Mothra, Behemoth, and these other titans reappear in the next Monsterverse film? Today on gojicenter, we will take into account many clues that will reveal whether or not these kaiju will once again reappear on the big screen and give you a glimpse as to the possibilities of new kaiju to appear.
Every kaiju they showed better. We need more Rodan. Mothra's gotta always be around. We need more Rodan. So freaking bad. And Behemoth, obviously.
If you don't want to miss a thing about the next Monsterverse film, learn about your favorite monsters, and witness more carnage, then please take a split second to hit that subscribe button, crush that bell icon, and sit tight while we go over the return of these Monsterverse titans. This episode will have many kaiju to cover, so we will have to go over them relatively quickly. After you're done watching this, make sure you check out this episode for a more in-depth discussion.
I'm not gonna lie, their other channel has the dopest thumbnails. I love retro crap so bad. Retro Godzilla stuff, are you out of your mind? Beautiful.
But let's begin with number 1, TITANUS MOSURA, or also known as Mothra. To figure out whether or not Mothra should appear in this movie, we need to take into account 2 things. One is this new film's synopsis, which states the following. This latest entry follows up the explosive showdown of Godzilla vs. Kong with an all-new cinematic adventure, pitting the almighty Kong and the fearsome Godzilla against a colossal, undiscovered threat hidden within our world, challenging their very existence and our own.
Oh my god.
The epic new film will delve further into the histories of these titans, their origins, and the mysteries of Skull Island and beyond, while uncovering the mythic battle that helped forge these extraordinary beings and tied them to humankind forever.
Jesus!
So the keywords here are threat hidden within our world and challenging their existence and our own. It doesn't take a genius to realize that whatever threat this is will not just jeopardize the existence of the Titans, but Earth itself, including us humans. Now, if you know anything about Mothra's character, you'll realize that this is a perfect time for Mothra to return.
On a side note, that's a beautiful plot line. Then humans and Godzilla can finally stop beefing it out like we have to unite to save humanity. That'll shut those government nerds up.
In 2019, we witnessed her give up her life to save the G-Man, while at the same time bestowing her abilities to him, making him all the more powerful. So how would she come back? Well, it just so happens that Mothra always lays an egg prior to putting herself in any life-threatening situation. In the event that she dies, her active consciousness and the memories will telepathically make their way to this new incarnation. Now that the whole world will be threatened in this new film, it only makes sense that Mothra, wardeness of the planet Earth, will return.
So true.
There's actually a small chance of this happening, and we're going to hate bringing this up in this video, but here it is. Because there are already 2 legacy monsters in this film, adding Mothra into the mix would basically deviate the film's focus from these 2 main characters. Not to mention that it could cost millions to use another Toho monster, let alone cover the costs of building a brand new Mothra for this movie.
I hate when logical things are brought up, and those are so logical. Using Toho monsters is ridiculous. That's why they have to make Muto and Behemoth and all them. Animating stuff is no joke. My mods cost like 1,000, and those are just like little simple ARC mods. It's all just bananas, dude.
Since it can't really be the same one from 2019. A more technical reason for Mothra to not appear in this film is that perhaps Mothra isn't really done developing yet inside its egg. We aren't 100% sure how long this takes, but a theory is that Mothra will be mature enough to hatch during the events of Godzilla and Kong. The good news, however, is that any novel published in conjunction with this film might actually make references or even discuss what Mothra is up to during these events. Although Mothra's reappearance is totally warranted for this next film, we'll have to give this kaiju a 20% chance of reappearing.
Honestly, makes sense. That's 20% a good bet. These guys are geniuses. Cause like I don't know. Also, if Godzilla faces any threat, people will be like, well, why doesn't Mothra just do that thing she did last time? You know what I mean? Like they gotta have a different plot this time.
Because of film development constraints, budgeting, and the fact that we aren't sure if she's matured enough to appear once again. Up next, we will cover another flying titan, TITANUS RODAN. Now this is another kaiju that did not appear in the previous film. It was mentioned that RODAN went to rest in the Fiji Islands in the South Pacific. This is where RODAN is currently hibernating. But will he wake up? For this, we'll take an educated guess and take into account RODAN's character. The last time we saw this dude in action was when he reluctantly bowed down to Godzilla after a failed attempt at challenging him.
Two things real quick. One, RODAN being the only one Godzilla had to like step out again to bow was so gangster. RODAN's awesome. Now I see, like, what if Godzilla does some alpha roar like Monster Zero did in King of the Monsters, but Godzilla wakes up all the kaiju with it to come back him up? Oh my god, I'd crap my pants.
Also, knowing how he had the balls to try and take on Ghidorah earlier in the film,
Big
it's
balls.
not too far-fetched to say that this guy would try to take any opportunity to assume the role of Alpha in the event that the current one is dead. And finally, we must consider that RODAN tends to take action when something benefits him. So now that we know that the well-being of all kaiju is at stake, it would also make sense for RODAN to pull up in the event that he sees something to gain from all the aftermath.
Something to benefit him, and he challenges Alpha. He's just such a dirtbag. I love him so much.
But what are the chances of him actually appearing?
So relatable.
Since a big chunk of this film is already speculated to take place in the Hollow Earth, and since RODAN is currently situated in Fiji, this would possibly bring his reappearance down to 50%, even if it's just a cameo or a mention of RODAN. We'll guess that even if he does appear in this film, his role wouldn't necessarily be an important one, especially since we are already following two kaiju already.
Dang.
For this reason, we'll guess that the reappearance of RODAN is even less feasible than Mothra's in the film, at around 5 to 10%. But in the novel, however, it is likely that RODAN might even have a dedicated sequence to give us a glimpse as to what he's up to. Here we'll guess a 30% chance.
Okay.
One of the favorite monsters that appeared in the previous film were the scaly quadrupeds.
I already know the answer to this.
TITANUS, Doug. Predicting this is going to be pretty easy, and here's 3 reasons why Doug will reappear. Number 1, in the official art book, we are given hints that Dougs are actually offshoots of Gojirras, meaning that as Gojirras evolved to this form, some other iterations of this family evolved to what we know today as the said scaly quadrupeds. Now, this movie has an alternative title known as Origins, so perhaps we will be given clear explanation on where these and Godzilla came from. Number 2, these were a fan favorite. Concept arts, fan arts, and all sorts of hype was spread around upon the reveal of this kaiju. Upon seeing this, the developers of this film will most definitely take notice, which brings us to number 3.
I like to think I helped out at least 1% with that hype with my Arc Doug mod. That cost me like $1,000, dude. What's happening here? I did my part. I did my 1%. Pretty selfish claim, but that's the kind of guy I am.
Adam Wingard himself mentioned in a Reddit AMA that if he does indeed direct the next MonsterVerse film, they'll most definitely bring Doug back. And here's proof.
And he is, so it's confirmed.
Godzilla film, you bet your TITANUS Doug is making a return. Hell, we created the CGI asset for one shot, so if anything, we need to get our money's worth still. But seriously, Doug has a lot more to give. So now that we know that he is helming the next installment, we can be 100% sure that we'll see this dude once again in the next film. Now that we are currently discussing Hollow Earth creatures, let's now talk about another popular Titan, the War Bats. Now these were a totally unique life form that exists in the Hollow Earth. Strange serpentine titans that could fly thanks to their eccentric set of wings, and possibly assisted by the strange Hollow Earth gravity inversions. So will these guys reappear? To come up with an answer for this, we'll have to do some speculation about this creature's behavior. Now, it was seen in GVK that these animals hunted in pairs. Were these male and female? We aren't exactly sure of this since there is not clear sexual dimorphism between these two, and the fact that these were not referred to as he or she in the official novelization, leaving us with the speculation that these were simply social animals, meaning that there could potentially be more of these lurking about in the Hollow Earth. These animals are definitely not the colossal threat mentioned in the description earlier, and probably won't have a major role in the film, but are much more likely to reappear since these are native to the Hollow Earth. For this reason, we will give the Warbats a 50% chance of simply reappearing in the next installment.
I'd say 50 is fair because their video's official and I'm just a guy shouting words that like they could be nonsense. I'd call it more like an 80% chance because it's gonna be a huge Hollow Earth focused, right? They're like a native species. They're clearly high up on the food chain. Like size-wise, they could be devouring dogs, I'm pretty sure. So I think something that high up on the food chain, but also they'd be more rare because you can't have something that high on the food chain just everywhere. It would decimate the ecosystem. It'd be like the rarity of running into a mountain lion or a freaking grizzly bear.
The same can be said for the skull crawlers, since these are also in fact native to the Hollow Earth as well.
Now these, I feel like you could see just families of them mowing down ecosystems. I don't know how these things don't decimate ecosystems because they eat forever.
But now let's talk about another much more popular titan that dwells on the surface of the Earth. TITANUS Behemoth.
Much more popular than the Skullcrawler. Just always kicking the Skullcrawler in the nuts. Everyone's just keeping the Skullcrawler down, man.
That's right, guys. The only reason why we added this titan to this list is because things are looking pretty bright for this titan to make its return. There have been many videos from other sources that also bring evidence to these claims. One particular piece of evidence discussed is the fact that some of this film will take place in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And it just so happens that TITANUS Behemoth currently dwells in this area. In Godzilla Dominion, we witnessed how the G-Man saved Behemoth from TITANUS Amuluk after he tried to use the surrounding resources to strengthen its body.
Amuluk. I've been saying Amuluk for, God damn, forever. For far too long. Amuluk. Thank you. Jesus.
Behemoth, being the warden of the forest, will probably once again be tasked to try to defend this valuable oxygen supply. Since we know that this threat is out to harm the world we live in, it only makes sense for this threat to go harm one of the most lush areas on planet Earth. Similar to Mothra, the reappearance of Behemoth will also be warranted. Except this guy isn't dead or in an egg. He's just resting, meaning that its original 3D model would only have to be altered to show signs of hibernation and a few battle scars from his confrontation with Amuluk. Also, if you didn't know, this guy was also supposed to appear in GVK, in a sequence where some guys armed with shotguns were out to hunt Kaiju, only to get crushed by Behemoth in a scene to illustrate the folly of mankind. This was ultimately scrapped due to heavy edits, but this time we are around 90% certain that this guy will at least make a short appearance in Godzilla and Kong, and we're excited for it. We have one more set of creatures to discuss, and those are more Kongs.
Woo!
Now, there have been several theories circling around talking about how there are more Kongs still alive in the Hollow Earth.
There is for sure.
And this could potentially be plausible depending on when these actually appear in the next film.
Just logically, if the species is up there, I feel like it was a branch. It was a branch of the Kong species that traveled and traveled their way, and then they made themselves up to Skull Island, and that's where they homed. And that's why they were overran. But there's gotta be more species still downstairs. Just gotta be.
Story-wise, it wouldn't be the best idea to add more Kongs into the mix, since it would take the focus away from the main Kong in the story.
It would.
These extra Kongs would make a perfect addition to the end of the story. After this colossal threat is disposed of, the story shifts back to Kong, who then might find evidence of another live specimen of his own kind currently living in the Hollow Earth, making a perfect transition from this film to the next. In terms of actually seeing other Kongs appear in this film, the chances are pretty low. Remember, apart from taking the plot into account, we must also keep budgets in mind. Furry animals are expensive, and since we possibly have a furry Behemoth into the mix, adding a third one will be a little too much, especially since we speculate that this third Kong will only appear towards the end or not at all. For this reason, we'll give the extra Kongs a 5 to 10% chance of making any visual appearance in this film.
That is extremely logical, as much as I hate it. These movies actually don't make that much. I think King of the Monsters only broke even by a little bit, but what people don't get is like the thousands of dollars people spend on these Godzilla figures. Like, it raises more money than any other franchise in the world just off figures.
References,
they make money,
however,
but not enough maybe.
100%, because it's an Origins movie. If we don't get that, then this is a fail. Don't forget to subscribe to gojicenter, the Beast Hub, and we'll see you next time to discuss the next possible villain in the Monsterverse.
Yeah, definitely subscribe to the Beast Hub. That's where they discuss all this awesome stuff and decide what to make videos on, basically. Logically, yeah, if we got Behemoth back, we probably wouldn't see Kong. That's a lot. Plus, they're also spending all this money on animating the big bad for this. Plus, I'm sure another side villain, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause it's never just, it's got to be something else too. Behemoth is pretty much guaranteed because of the location. Doug's been confirmed. The Wombats, I don't know. I think I pretty much agree on everything in this video perfectly. So yeah, leave a like on the video, subscribe, check out gojicenter down below, and I'll see you next time.